Hello, everybody, and welcome to Let's Make a List on KPCA LP, Petaluma's community access radio station, online at kpca.fm. We are live in Petaluma. We have lots of guests today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. And I guess I can just go ahead and get started. Just for people who not listen to the show, what we do is we choose a topic having to do with movies or music or books or, what am I leaving out, television. And we pick our favorites, make a list, and then we discuss and debate. And that's basically it. Usually I throw some trivia in there and something else. So we go ahead and get started. I'll introduce everyone. We have two returning guests, and we have right now one new guest, another one that should be coming in pretty soon. The returning guest, as everyone knows, Ariel.
Hello.
My mom, Kathleen.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, and Kelly Poulos is here. New guest, first time on the show.
Wonderful to be here. I'm a fangirl.
Well, thank you very much for being here. Let me see. I think I've got everyone's mics going. And then, coming soon, hopefully any minute, is Emily Gates will be here. She'll be fun, too. So I'll go ahead and get started. At first, this is things unplanned you guys don't know about, so you guys just have to think on the spot. So one thing that I do on this show a lot is I like to talk to people about growing up, how they found out about new music and entertainment, and how they consumed it, basically, and just how, if that has stuck with them growing as they grow up, if they still we'll just stick to music, 'cause that's the easiest one right now. If people, I like to know if they go, this is how I found out and listened to music when I was younger, and then now when I'm growing up, I do the same thing, or if you kind of change with the times, I guess you could say, because I'm just always curious, because I just know how my generation is. So when we had my cousin Harrison on here, it was fun to talk to him because he's the younger generation, to see how we talked about video games mostly, but just to see how he played and learned about games. So I'm curious with my mom and Kelly. I'm going to call her my mom instead of Kathleen, because it'd be weird if I called you Kathleen.
I'll call you my son.
Okay, there we go.
I think I'm going to call you my blessed son.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Please do.
Thank you. So, first of all, when you were growing up, how would you listen to music? How would you find out about music? Would you listen to the radio to figure out about it? Would you find out from your friends? What do you remember how you would how music became part of your life, I guess you'd say? And go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I'm 72, so we weren't listening to music on computers and that kind of thing. We were going into record shops with 45 RPMs, and you got to listen to the record before you bought it. That was a big deal. It was $1, and you'd go in there and you'd put your headset on and you'd listen to the music. I didn't grow up in a family that was listening to music. I was a family of farmers. My dad is a milkman. All my music influence came from my peers.
Okay.
When I was young. And radio. I loved radio. I still love radio, as you know from my fan post. I love radio drama as well as music. But then I met Emily Gates, and my musical world completely changed.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. When she's here, I want to remind me to ask her about that.
I feel like we might be able to talk about our list for 2 minutes because we can just ask Emily Gates a few questions, and then she will just tell us amazing stories, I'm sure.
Yeah. For people who don't know, Emily Gates is a music teacher. She's been working music for decades. Yeah.
And we will only refer to her by her whole name.
Emily Gates. Yeah.
Not her familiar name.
Her son-in-law calls her Mrs. Gates.
Oh, really? I just saw her walk by. She'll be here in
Mrs.
a minute.
Gates is here.
Mrs. Gates is in the building.
What about you, Mom?
I lived in Racine, Wisconsin. I'm 60 years old. I was going to say 60, and and we had Chicago radio stations, so we had lots of good top 10 stuff. But we would listen to radio, and then we'd go buy 45s, and then when I got a little older, in my young teens, I would go buy albums. And then I would have my own record player in my room because I got it for Christmas or something. And I would listen to that album, turn it over, listen to it. I would listen to it over and over and over and over and over again. And that's but radio, I think, is how I got most of it.
Okay. the aforementioned Emily Gates is here now. Hello, welcome. Hi, thank you very much for coming.
Hello.
And let us know if the headphones are not loud enough or anything. There are controls over there. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for rushing to get here. So yeah, we just started. I was asking them about growing up, how they found out about new music and how they listened to music, and basically just their relationship with music growing up. So I'm curious, with you, like when you grew up, how did you find out about new musicians and artists and what? Yeah.
Good question. I guess radio mostly.
Okay.
I was involved in music lessons practically my whole life from the time I was about 6.
Oh, okay.
By the way, we all told how old we were. So you have to say how old you are.
You don't have to.
How old? Hey, I'm proud to be 79, almost 80. So anyway, yeah.
Okay.
I would say new things, radio.
Okay. Kelly was mentioning that when she met you, the way that she found out and listened to music changed completely. So I'm curious. So how would you describe that? What changed?
Well, meeting Emily and Gary, I got introduced to musicals and classical music and just like the whole genre of music in the Gates house. My dad, wasn't listening to classical music and he wasn't going to musicals. Mm-hmm. So, from that moment on, my entire exposure to musicals began.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've mentioned it. Today we're going to be talking about musicals. We're going to talk about our favorite musicals. We all have a huge list. We're going to focus on the top 5 if we can. Then we'll see what we have time for.
14.
we have multiple pages. So we'll have to do a sequel, another episode sometime to talk about it more.
The ones we didn't like as much.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Let's do ones that we didn't think were worth the money.
I've got a couple.
Yeah, me too. State Fair, San Francisco.
Shots fired.
So now, present day, do you guys still? Sorry, Ariel, I know all about you. We have a music show together. We've talked about this a lot.
That's totally fine. I'm comfortable in my corner.
Okay. What about now? Do you guys still actively go out and try to find out about new musicians, new bands, things like that? Or do you stick to, like, this is where I've been looking for a long time, what I listen to, I just stick with that? Any of you can go ahead and...
Well, I listened to Phil and Ariel's show.
I
can't say that there are tons of it that I will go out and buy,
right.
But I like to listen to new things.
Okay.
And I look at a lot of stuff on Facebook that people recommend. A lot of my former students will say, "Oh, have you heard so and so?" And so I'll go and listen to them.
Very cool.
I guess that's probably.
Yeah, your show really is helpful to me that way too, because it's difficult to keep up with what's happening. So I really appreciate that. You're like curators, of the music. But I get my influence from Emily and also Jimmy and Liz, my son Jimmy and my daughter-in-law. They will send me things. They'll say, "Look, you got to hear this one. We think you'll like this one. You got to hear this band. We think they're really new. We think they're really good." And so it's from other people, and I'm fighting the good fight, but it's not easy. There's so much stuff out there.
Yeah, I get nostalgic very often, where I kind of wish that it was how it was like 10 years ago, where there was basically like I'd watch MTV, I'd listen to the radio, or I'd go to concerts, and then I would, if there was an album I want, I'd think about it for a while, because it was we didn't have a lot of money growing up. Like, people don't have a lot of money when they're a teenager and stuff. So they go, okay, we have to make sure I get an album I really love. And so you would think about it, then you go to the store and it felt special, then you get it, and even if you didn't like it at first, you'd listen to it over and over again. You go like, I'm gonna like it. I spent my money on it. And I feel like now that doesn't really happen as much, just because so much music is free, and so much of it is just people will just passively have, like, not anything against these websites like Pandora and Spotify, but they'll just have music going on all the time, and they don't even really, if they don't like it right away, they'll just kind of forget about it. So I was just curious if you guys have noticed it like that really at all, or where people seem to have more of a kind of a passive relationship with music, or do you think things have changed for the better the way the music industry has gone, or do you think it's just different? Any thoughts? Anyone? At all?
Different for sure.
Different. Okay.
Better, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to know because, and when I try to talk to people, like when I talk to my cousin Harrison, that's just how it is for them. So you can't go like, "Oh, do you wish it was this way?" And they go, "No, this is the way it is." So I feel like for a lot of people, it's probably like that, no matter what generation. That I'm guessing most people will go, "Oh, when growing up for me, that was the best way to consume and find music." Mom, you agree?
I found that I don't listen to much new music anymore. I really do like listening to your mixtape show. That helps me a lot because but I still don't usually go out and buy it. But I enjoy it.
Okay.
I'm kind of in a rut for the music that I had when I was in my prime music time, like when I was in my my teens and 20s and 30s, and like when I'm on the road trips with my husband Jim, who you also know as Dad. And your father.
Blessed
my
father.
God, yes.
Blessed father.
He likes me to call him that. Then we listen to old stuff. But we'll talk about consuming music though. But because I still like to have it on a something I can hold in my hand.
Yeah.
Now we have lots of like disc collections of all like Carly Simon's music or all of Neil Young's music, and next time you can just keep playing that stuff over and over again. It's kind of like what I said earlier about just getting a brand new album and playing over and over again. But now I can do that with 70 songs.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just more familiar. I tend to get bored with new music now.
Me
I mean,
too.
no.
Me
I
too.
don't. When I say new, I mean music that I don't already know.
Okay.
Which will get me back to the musicals, and that's sometimes why musicals can be dull to me, because I don't already have something to sing along with
I
or
get
hum
that.
along with.
There's another thing I've mentioned on the show a lot. I feel like now I'm definitely guilty of this, where my attention span becomes shorter and shorter. Just with I can always be entertaining myself with something, and so I'll find I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, well, I'm playing a video game or I'm typing up something. Well, I'm not. I could be listening to something too. I could have a show going in the background. So now it's so much more difficult for me to just sit and just do one thing, and which is something I need to work on, and I miss that because that's how it was growing up. Or it's just like I had an album. That's all I would do was listen to that album at that time, or whatever. So I don't know. I just wonder if that is something that we're kind of gonna keep going away from, or if people eventually are gonna. I don't know. I'm just curious.
I still love live performance. I mean, so still to me that is just fantastic. Still, one of the reasons I go to the Sausalito Art Festival every year is because of the live music.
Oh, okay.
And there's several different stages there. And I remember the year Crosby, Stills, and Nash were there, and we were so happy he wasn't
cool.
dead. And we're down there in the front singing "For Dead No Hi-O" with a bunch of old women like myself. It was so great. But I subscribe to Apple Music. I pay the $10 a month, and I like it.
Yeah.
I like it because I don't know even the names of new music, and I want to know, because I think in order to relate to younger people now, you need to know what music they're listening to, and so I can just search and find things. And would I buy it? Probably not. But for $9.99.
Yeah,
I get it all. So is it better? I don't know. I still think there's nothing better than live anything. Musical, jazz, bands, you name it.
Cool. I think I agree with that. All right. Thank you for that. Should we go on to our lists?
Yeah.
We have lists and then have a little bit of trivia after, just for fun. All right. So we're talking about our favorite musicals. We're talking about live musicals we've seen, movies. I don't know what other kind of musicals there are, but most of mine are movies because I haven't seen as many live musicals. So we can go ahead and get started. Let's start with Ariel. Ariel, so we're going to try to do our top 5. I guess count down 5 to 1. If you don't have them in order, then
I don't.
Okay, that's okay. We can just kind of. When we get to you can just talk about one you want to talk about. Totally fine.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, so am I starting with number 5?
Yeah.
All right, so my number 5 is Hamilton. I did not like it very much when I first heard it because I was listening to some of the music with someone who is learning about hip hop that year. Mm-hmm. But when I actually got to go see it and I was learning about the costumes and all of that and I got to see the staging of it, yeah, I loved it. It was amazing. It was really, really good.
And now, does it make it so you like the music now separate from that?
Yeah. Because like once you see just the combination of the staging, the lighting, the dancing, everything, it really gets you and it's worth the hype.
Nice.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yeah, that's when I listened. I haven't seen it live. I've heard some of the music. When I first listened to it, I was kind of like, all right, it didn't grab me. I wasn't really impressed. But I saw one song performed by a professional group, and then I just heard some of it, and it grew on me a little bit.
Well, there's they use a round table in the stage when they're staging it, producing it, when they're acting it out, whatever, and so. Because the music really relates a lot to hip hop, they use that as the way that a record spins.
Oh, okay.
To tell time change, to even utilize the in the music.
Just do that and they all fall over. They just quick scratches.
They have really strong thighs because they are incredibly professional dancers. So no, although I would have paid to see that too. But no, it's really cool and it's showing that musicals are going in a really interesting direction.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Good answer. Mm-hmm. And everyone just feel free to speak up anytime. It's all very informal.
I'll go. Hamilton's my number 1.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And I have 8 pages and bazillions of them, and really old and really new and all like that. But to me, this is just genius. And for me personally, it was better than the hype, and I didn't think that was possible because there was so much hype about it. And thanks to Emily Gates and Jim Poulos, I was able to go see it. And I remember after the first 15 minutes, I just looked over at Emily and went, this is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I was a mess.
It was just I was crying from the beauty of it. That the language, the costumes, the staging, taking the historical language. I mean, it's rap, but the language is historical from the novel
that's a good point.
That he read. And just to me, to be able to do that, I loved it.
Were you really familiar with Lin-Manuel Miranda's work before that, In the Heights?
Yes, I saw In the Heights in New York with Lin-Manuel.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I was familiar with him, but I had not listened to the music at all. My son recommended that I not, even though I might be able to understand the words better. Mm-hmm. He felt like he was recommending that I experience it at the moment when it happened. I thought it was remarkable. I recommend it to anybody.
I should probably see that live because I haven't heard one person that was not blown away. I think you would enjoy it,
and the fact that it's essentially white history told through people of color.
Exactly.
It really, really does a huge number on your heart and your brain.
Cool.
And it is just really beautiful to watch.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm a convert.
Cool.
I saw it too, but I'm not even sure it would make my top 10.
Oh.
I mean, I loved it for the way it was done and how it was done. Is it something I'm going to revisit often? Mm-hmm. Maybe not. I mean, I loved it. I made a big impact when I saw it. But is it something that's going to last for me? I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. How long ago did you see it?
Same time Kelly did.
A year ago.
A year? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Mom, you haven't seen it, have you?
I haven't seen it, no. I'd have to sell a car or something. That's how that thing got. It got so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? It makes me want to buy season tickets. Because then you already have that show.
Yeah.
Season tickets are just Broadway. Just
all
Broadway.
Well, yeah. Well, my list, by the way, is going to be so different from the rest of yours because
mine is too.
What I like about musicals, my list is 19 of them because I was shocked because I thought when you suggested this topic, I said I hope I can come up with 10 I like. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh my God, there's 30 easy. Mm-hmm. But I realized the ones I like the most are the ones I can watch over and over again. And so that my list is going to be different from that. My number 5, get this, is Emmett Otter's Jugman Christmas.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, it's
a movie. It's animated. What do you call that?
Puppet.
Yeah, it's puppet.
It's a Henson.
Sounds like those things behind the stage. I hit each other's
heads. It's Henson Productions.
Yeah, and I love the music.
Yep.
I love the characters. I love the the songs, the lyrics, and it's such a heartwarming, wonderful family friendship. And the music is just adorable and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I love it. And even like the characters that are kind of the bad guys turn out to be like, they win a prize because they're really good at it.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. Anyway, and we watch it every year. I mean, we watched it when the kids were little. And then we just we still watch it every year.
Every Christmas Eve, yeah.
And it's a children's show, but it's
great.
It's just so delightful. And
That-
it's a
Never
musical.
seen it. I think I need
It's
to.
I think it's like
Yeah.
35, 40 minutes, so it's pretty short, but it's...
I checked to make sure it actually was a movie, though.
Yeah, it
so
can be.
anyway, because I wanted to not break all the rules. But anyway, so
yeah,
I
that,
just
that,
love
one, that
it.
one's a special one for me, too.
Yeah.
Just growing up, that is...
But I don't know how much of that
That's
is.
our oldest Christmas tradition, for that and driving around looking at lights.
Yeah. And I just don't know how much of that is because we watched it when you guys were kids, or if I watch it the first time now, how it would impact me. But it was my fifth on the list for that.
So I have a Jim Henson thing on mine, too. Not that one, but I do like that one a lot. For some reason, I didn't think of that one as a movie, even though it is. Cool. What about you? Oh, sorry.
I don't have numbers.
Oh, that's fine. What's one that that's not your favorite, but what's one that you like a lot?
Crazy for You.
Okay, I have seen that. I've seen at San Bruno.
Now, I saw that first in New York, and it made me want to do it right away.
Oh, nice.
Because I loved the music, I loved the dancing, I loved the story. I mean, it was just fun. It was just fun and entertaining.
What's
Not my top, but right up there. It was one that I really enjoyed right off.
there are a few real well known songs from that. I'm trying to remember because I know some of the songs. What are some of the popular ones?
Okay, I'll have to think about that.
There's a song called "Crazy for You," right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there is. And there are a lot of traditional things that are now kind of jazz standards.
Oh,
in there,
okay.
too. So it's got a lot of things that people are familiar with,
Okay.
but it's just fun.
It was on my list too, and I saw it on Broadway first, and I fell in love with the show. I thought it was on my lower list, but I can talk about it because she did. Anyway, and I just loved it, and I had a favorite character. And then what was nice is when San Marin put it on at the high school play. By the way, amazing music department over there. They put on a great play.
Here.
But they, and then my son played
Yes.
my favorite character from when I
Yes.
saw it on Broadway. And what was kind of cool about that, I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, that was the first time I think he ever got up and performed, other than just playing music. And he
really?
tap danced, and he was funny, and anyway, so that always has a warm part in my heart.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Slap That Bass was
Yeah.
his number, and it was so good.
I remember that. I do remember that.
So anyway,
yeah.
that's because that's how that was. Not like one of my favorites, but it is in my top 10 because it has such a good, and I loved it too. But yeah.
Nice. All right, my number 5 is not like any of the ones we talked about before. It's Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. It's a movie. Tenacious D is Jack Black and Kyle Gass, comedic duo. They do music and comedy, and they did a movie that I thought was really funny. The songs are great. I like their music a lot, and yeah, it's kind of went under the radar. It didn't do well in theaters, but I think it's really good. I don't have too much to say.
It's in my honorable mention list.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll keep it moving.
I'm
Just
learning
I
so
don't
much. I feel like I need to take notes.
Number 4. My number 4 is Bye Bye Birdie. I've loved that show since I was a kid, and I just love that it's so tongue in cheek.
Yep.
That it's not even tongue in cheek because it's so obvious. But I just like listening to that music. Makes me laugh every time we listen to Kids regularly on road trips and things. And just every time it's showing anywhere, I want to go see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna spoil my list. That's my number 1. that I don't like most of mine on my list are much newer, or they're not from that era really at all. But that one, it's the one musical that I feel like, because that was 60s, probably early 60s. I'm guessing it premiered, and
It is 63.
Thank you.
I know that because it's
Nice.
number 2 on my list.
And I think Dick Van Dyke, was in the original Broadway production of it too. I think. I think it's there are not many movies or musicals from that era that I still find to be funny and and entertain all the way through, and that one is for me. I love the music, and when I liked it as a kid growing up, just I liked the music and it's colorful and had a lot of stuff to look at. And then when I started to get all the jokes, and when I realized what it was, because it's like it's mocking stuff, but it's not mean spirited at all, and it just I liked it for all new reasons. So yeah, that's my number one. Yeah. Cool. All right, what about you?
Oh well, I didn't do like one. I couldn't do 1 to 5. There were too many. But I do notice that there's old stuff like standard stuff, and then the newer stuff. So I'm going to pick an old one now that I think is still relevant, and that's South Pacific. I think it stands.
Okay,
I think it stands. I think the story is relevant today, especially the song. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. I think it's as relevant today as it was the first time I ever saw it. I still really love it. And I love the way in which they tell the story with empathy of people who just don't understand why someone would raise children who don't look like them.
Okay. What's the, like, just kind of brief synopsis? Like, what is that about? I actually don't know what that's about. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Well, it takes place on an island during, is it Bali? Actually, probably Bali, in the South Pacific. In the South Pacific, and it's during the war, and there's a military base there, and there are nurses and there are soldiers there. And then there is a gentleman on the island who, I don't remember his name, Emily probably does, who is a substantial man who owns a house and is quite well known on the island. The head nurse, Nellie, he falls in love with her. And that's the love story. And then one of the military guys falls in love with one of the native women. And the war is going on all in the background, but it's not sad. There's like really silly, upbeat, songs in there, like I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair. Nothing Like a Dame, which is a great, fun number with these soldiers. But the substance of the story is people who have different beliefs and how that gets resolved. So Nellie's in love with him until she finds out that he's raising two mixed kids that are island kids, and then she comes up against her own. Gosh, I don't know if I can do that, and so it unfolds that way, and in the end, it's all okay because musicals of that era pretty much had happy endings, but still the lyrics were, I think, beautifully done. And I look at today, the world we're in today, this is spot on.
Yeah. So that, one of the reasons I want to talk about this today is because a lot of these musicals, which I think I should see, and if I didn't have, like, hearing about you guys like them and the kind of the context, the things around it to make me interested. Like if I read a book about a certain anything, then it makes me want to, like, I've read a book about a music producer that produced a bunch of different artists that I never listened to it, but after reading about it, I was like, I really want to get all these albums. And then I listened to it, like, oh, I like them because of what I know about them. So this is good. It's making me want to see these movies that normally I wouldn't want to see, or these musicals. Cool. Thank you.
Blessed Mother.
God, you say one dumb thing. My next one is it's kind of I don't know. It's Rent, and there's a couple reasons for that. First time I went to New York with the it's all about San Marin today, isn't it? Well, of course, my life got changed by having a student at San Marin, and then I would take trips, and I became friends with Emily and then Kelly. But it was the first one of those musicals on Broadway that it was that new style. It wasn't like people on a ship that are happy and like, oh, somebody's crazy and dressing
Right.
like a woman. Oh, and it was poverty and AIDS and homelessness, and it was just and the music was different, and it was performed in a different way, and I just loved it. And of course, Kelly's son was in it, which made it even better because then I felt really engaged with it more, and it just moved me. And then but I've seen it a couple times since, and it still impacted me because I've seen it when they did it in San Francisco from way in the back, so it wasn't nearly as good because you couldn't even tell who was singing. You go, who just died? I can't tell until they fall down. You know what I mean? Because that's a problem with those theaters are so huge like that. Whereas in New York, it was a much more intimate theater. And then I saw it again when MST put it on, Marin Summer Theater put it on, and the same Jim Poulos, who I saw in it, was directing this one. And so it was nice having his take on it, and it was just amazing. Anyway, so that's one of the very memorable ones that moved me, and I loved it. And like I said, it was the new wave of musicals for me, and that's why that one's on the list.
I remember I've seen it twice. I think once in San Francisco, once in New York. Does it all take place in that one building? Is it?
Yeah.
Because I remember. Okay.
I think it's just.
I just want to see if I remembered it right.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Cool. What about you? Do you have?
Well, they actually go to a restaurant when they
There
do.
are a couple of
Yeah.
other things.
Oh,
When
there.
they-
Okay.
When they do, so they have where they live, and then
The parking lot.
and then the parking lot, and then they do La Vie Boheme, and they're in the restaurant.
But it's a simple
Okay.
set.
Yeah.
Simple
I remember
set.
that, yeah.
It doesn't
set.
really
I remember it being like a
change
few
much.
stories, and they go up
You
and
just kind of have
climb
to
and
pay
stuff.
attention
Yeah.
by the lyrics, almost figure out where they are.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. We saw it 13 times
Oh wow.
because Jimmy was in it. But the first time you pay the big money and you sit in orchestra because your kid's in a New York
Yeah.
show. But you don't do that 13 times,
Right.
certainly not in New York. So we would do the standing room only way in the back, and we'd seen it so many times we started like singing along with it. And after a show, Jimmy came out and said, Mom, Dad, you cannot sing along with a Broadway show. I said, well, how did you know it was us? He said, because
You were singing along.
one of the actors came back and went, Poulos, your parents are here.
Very good.
And that is Emily's godson, by the way. I remember earlier I said when I met Emily and Gary, my musical horizons enhanced.
Right.
So I'm going to say that happened for our whole family. I mean, Jim Poulos and Frankie Poulos were exposed to music because of our friendship.
Nice. That's awesome.
Okay, my next one, I'll go back on what kind of tagging onto what Kelly said about a story, and that one would be Fiddler on the Roof. Because again, the story is just still very relevant. All these people that are misplaced and have to leave their homes, and there's just so much about that story. And I love the music as well, but that's a story that's hard to beat.
It's
I think.
everyone's story.
Yeah. So that would be on my upper
Nice.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was up there for me too. It was really up there for me. It was hard.
Is that one? How many I've seen Sam Marin do that one. How many? Do you know how many times Sam Marin has done? They're like most of these. Do you guys
Two or
kind of have
three,
like
I've
a
probably
group that
done
you
it.
cycle through, or is it just
No.
every you decide kind of what seems right?
We decide based on the talent we have and,
Oh, okay.
and what seems to hit us.
Okay.
It's
I have a comment about Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
Just because this was on my list, lower than 5, but it's because it was so impactful. I went to Poland, and I went to Auschwitz, and I'd never seen Fiddler on the Roof. And I'd only been home a couple of months, and I went and saw Fiddler on the Roof that San Marin did. And it's so funny because when you see it, like you just, they're going off now, and they're going to be going. And I realized, oh my God, they're going off to their death.
Yep.
And so here I was watching this High School Musical, and I started crying in the audience
Yeah.
because I knew where these people were going.
Yeah.
And instead of just a happy, lucky song, it moved me deeply. You know?
I get that,
And so
yep.
that was just because it made it real for me.
Yep.
So
Totally
that-
agree.
so that's-
Totally agree.
That, yeah.
It was on my list too. I think it's everyone's story. It stands as powerfully today as it did the first time I saw it. Because it's about real relationships and what happens over time, and then the historical background is just a knockout punch. Just
Yeah, little stories
Yeah.
within a big story.
Right.
Yeah.
going back to your South Pacific, I saw that just a couple years ago in more than that. I don't know when it was. Somewhat recently in New York again, and although I love the story, the best part about that was the orchestra. I mean, it was at Lincoln Center, and the orchestra pit was covered, and then it opens up, and the music was one of the best orchestra pieces I've seen. The staging I didn't love, but the music was awesome.
This is probably a silly question, but on Broadway shows, is it pretty much always an orchestra live, or is recorded music very common?
Very common.
It is? Oh, okay.
In New York?
Yeah.
Not completely.
Yeah.
No, most of them have. There are a lot of shows that will have a lot of synths.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
have a lot of synthesizers, and then they'll have a few live musicians.
Oh, okay.
And they're a lot less big, like that South Pacific Orchestra was huge. I mean, I've never seen such a big
okay.
orchestra.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, but on orchestras and music, one of the best shows I've seen was Bandstand, and it didn't play for very long, but it was just so outstanding. The music was so great. I just saw that last summer, and
Yeah, I'm so sorry it closed. I wanted to see that so
that
bad.
was
I've
such a
never heard
great
of that. I
show.
don't think I've
Oh,
even
the
heard
story
of that.
sounded great.
The story was great, the music was great, and the actors just blew me away because the main people were guys who had been in the Army, who formed their own band when they got out. It was all vets, and it was about winning a show, blah, blah, blah. But they acted, they sang, they danced, and they played instruments in an unbelievable way. It was the hottest jazz combo you'd ever want to hear.
Wonderful.
And in addition to that, they had a full orchestra. So
Nice.
it was,
Yeah.
the music
Very
was
cool.
awesome. So I love that one.
Awesome. Just realized we're this is awesome. We're
I'm
going
getting off
through.
track.
Oh no, that's good. That's what I want. But I think 5 per person I might have bit off more than I could chew.
Well, we can
Yeah.
combine them.
Yeah, we can kind of.
I just
Yeah.
list our last favorites or something.
Oh, kind of. Yeah. Well, we don't have to. Yeah, we still plenty of time. I just want to say that. Nice. Okay, I'll go. I'm gonna say thank you. My number 4, which I think a lot of people don't consider as a musical, but I think it is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
It's on my list.
because it's one of those where I was looking at lists online of musicals and that popped up. I'm like, is that a musical? Oh yeah, totally is, but it doesn't have music throughout. It's just some. But that's one of those movies that I ever since I first saw as a little kid, it just has. I think it's just so colorful and
so dark at the same
so
time.
dark
exactly.
and
Exactly.
it's so weird, but then at
Yeah.
the same time, like as a kid you watch it and it's like a little scary, but yeah, and I don't think I really have anything else to say about that. But I just love that. I just love that movie. I don't really I have many stories around it.
You and I both are
Yeah.
having these answers that are very, very just on the surface.
Yeah.
And so it's really awesome that you guys
Yeah,
are
yeah.
actually like, I kind of do want you guys to come back again to talk about more, because it is so important to talk about how like the Rodgers and Hammerstein shows, a lot of them have such real stories that are about the human condition
Great
that you can
lyrics,
come
yeah.
back to all the time, and then great lyrics, great music, great performances that build on top of that. And for me, I'm like, I don't know, I love the costumes, like they were bright, you know.
Yeah.
Like I can talk about deeper things,
Yeah.
but my list today does not reflect
Yeah, mine
that so much.
mine are pretty much lighter. Yeah, Bye Bye Birdie, Tenacious D, and Willy Wonka. Pretty not the heaviest things, but they're ones I enjoy.
All right,
Cool.
so
Yeah,
my next show is Lion King. I saw that on stage last fall, and the design of that show was incredible, and it actually sent chills up my spine because Julie Taymor is so incredibly talented. She's not only a costume designer; she designed the sets, she designed everything, and so it was just incredible to see all that work at play, and then to see the performers perform it, and they had all the puppets. Like I thought. Because people were talking about how it's coming to the Orpheum, it's a smaller theater, they won't have all the puppets, but they had a ton of puppets, and it was incredible to see the craft of that show. And again, it's really easy to win me over. If there's a show that has people of color, that has interesting music, I am there for it, and Lion King is definitely one of those. It was incredible.
It's beautiful.
It was incredible. I lost my mind. Lost my mind.
Oh, what about you?
I'm a Sondheim fan, so just about, I'll go to anything of his, and some of it I like better than others, but I just a fan. So, of course, West Side Story is, to me, that's ground zero. I mean, it's just still great for me. But what I had on the list was Into the Woods.
Okay.
And Into the Woods is Sondheim and James Lapine. Jimmy played Jack in Into the Woods at PCPA. That was the first time I'd seen it.
Okay.
And then Emily's done it since then. I think Liz directed Once on This Island.
You're talking about when Jimmy was in college.
When Jimmy was in college, yeah. And
Wait,
again,
how old is that musical? I didn't know that.
well,
I thought it was a new musical. I guess I just didn't hear about it until
it's,
recently.
it's not that new.
Oh, okay,
It's
never
not
mind
that
then,
new.
all right.
It's at least
Jimmy's not that new.
I feel like it got like a resurgence of interest.
It
in the
was.
past
It
few
is
years.
again so socially relevant. The first half of it is just all these fairy tale characters interacting, and they're hilarious and funny, and it's just kind of lightweight. But then the whole thing shifts dramatically. Only Sondheim could do this. Could take these lightweight fairy tale characters and turn this into a powerful story.
I just realized I was
Yeah.
getting that mixed up with Wicked.
Yeah, there you go. And the story, and the people who were fighting all the time in the front, like people do, had a common enemy, and it was the giant in the sky, and how they interacted in the second half. I think it's one of the most interesting storylines I've seen, and I loved the music. I thought it was wonderful.
Nice.
Now we're to superficial again, because what I like about musicals is when I can watch them over and over again, because it's White Christmas.
love it,
I'm
love
talking
it.
about the movie of it.
Yeah.
I love the Danny Kaye and what I call the Skinny Girl. Oh my God, their dances are amazing. I just love them, and it's got lots of humor in it, and it's got Christmas in it, and and it's just
Got Rosemary Clooney's voice.
Rosemary Clooney's amazing.
Love it too,
Yeah.
Kathleen.
Did that-
Adore it.
So anyway,
Did that start as a movie, or was it a
I think it was a movie and
stage?
then a stage.
Okay.
But I go, and now what's nice is occasionally down at the Regency they'll play that, at the Regency around Christmas time, and it's just. And what's funny is I've watched it since I was a kid, and when I started seeing on better and better copies, like when it came out on, now I have it on Blu-ray, there's things in there I never even saw before, just because the quality was so bad from watching it on these old little TVs when I was a kid. So I really love that movie, and I watch it every year.
I
pretty
ditto
much.
that. Love it.
Me too.
Nice.
My
All
turn?
right. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go back to Kelly again and Sondheim, West Side Story, which is one of my tops. And that came out when I was in college 100 years ago. And it was I listened to it all the time at that point. And the first time I ever saw it live was before I was married, came out to visit what would then be my husband. And we saw it in San Francisco in some small little theater. All it had was a piano, bass, and drums, and a ladder. And I fell in love with the
That's
show.
cool.
It was just amazing. And I just have loved it ever since.
Yeah, me too. It's still so powerful. The
Yeah.
love and the hate and the this and the that. Oh my gosh. And the lyrics. Wow.
I don't know if I've ever seen. I've seen the movie. I don't think I've ever seen it live.
I don't love the movie.
I don't
Oh,
either.
okay. So yeah, I don't think I've
Live
seen. I don't think I've
Is
seen
worth
it.
all the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it really gets you.
Yeah.
Like just the immediacy of all that music and the dancing. And the sadness. The sadness is real.
Is that kind of based on Romeo and Juliet?
Yes.
It is
Okay.
based on Romeo and
Okay.
Juliet. But Jimmy, I always tease Jimmy and say maybe that is the only story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's derivative. you
Yeah.
know, it's-
Yep.
Ariel was a little off mic and she was whispering. Did you say the sex or the sets?
The sets, but the sadness, I think is what I was talking about. I wasn't that cutting edge.
I'm gonna go ahead and just say I've already said my number one. I'm gonna say my 3 and my 2, just for time's sake. 3 is Om Shanti Om. It's a Bollywood movie, and I saw that with Ariel once we first started to hang out, and it was
incredible.
It is, and it was the
Love
first
Bollywood.
Bollywood movie I ever saw, and it was just by the first musical number. When we were watching it, I was like, oh, there's a whole new world of movies and music that I know nothing about. It was exciting. I was like, ooh, a whole new thing to discover, and just different culture, different sound, different way of making movies, and that I think is still my favorite Bollywood movie I've seen. It's so epic.
Well, there's
And
like an
it's-
intersection between films and the whole pizzazz
Yeah.
of stage shows, and because it's about a man who falls in love with an actress, and so there are a lot of dance numbers that happen on movie sets, like while he's watching a movie, and so
cool.
there's just like they change instantly.
Yeah, and
to
it's
all
like
these
it's
different
pretty
sets,
light, and then it just gets
yeah.
really heavy, and it's about like
As do most
resurrection.
Bollywood movies, where
Yeah.
it has a very, very deep spiritual meaning to it. And
Yeah.
like we watched it, we were like, "Oh, this is going to be a fun movie," and then we ended up like, "I can't believe this happened to us. It's amazing." So
Yeah.
good.
And then say my number 2 is Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes.
That's my favorite Muppet thing I think ever.
Love it too.
Yeah, that's one of those. Every Christmas I go like, oh yeah, that exists. I want to watch that because that gets me in the mood. Music's great. Muppets are. I like all the Muppet movies, and so that one sticks out for me. Yep. Cool. What about you, Ariel?
Okay. I'll say 2 and 1. Phantom of the Opera and Les Miserables. Phantom just got me because I saw it when I was 12, and it was so epic, so over the top. The costumes were incredible, and it, of course, had romance, which when you're 12 is like, I mean, come on. And I loved the music. I'm a little bit shocked that these are still my favorite musicals, but Les Miserables is my number 1 because I saw it at the Curran Theater when I was 4 years old. I was too little to sit in a seat, so my mother, my birth mother, put me on the little armrest,
Yeah.
and I was just, I couldn't look away. And it was so sad. And there were so many different stories about, people starving and all these different, the political parts of the story, and just like the love between a parent and a child, which was something that even that little, when I was that little, I knew a lot about. And I just will never get over that show. And that's me.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one when it comes to town sometime. I want to go see it with you just because I know how much you love it and I want to be able to experience it with the huge sound.
That's a must-see.
And yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah. What are do you have a couple more?
I'll do like a review.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so ditto on Les Mis. Powerful, love it. I'm going to say one that Emily and I saw together that stays with me. And I have like 8 pages, but
Nice.
it's The Light in the Piazza.
I haven't heard of that one either.
It is so beautiful, and Emily and I saw it in San Francisco. Again, it's just such a touching story. It's a developmentally a daughter who's developmentally slow and very beautiful, and her parents raise her, and she really doesn't realize that there's anything different from her. And they take her to Italy, and an Italian man falls in love with her. He doesn't speak English, and she doesn't speak Italian. And you see this romance grow between these two. And then the family finds out that she's developmentally disabled, and the conflict goes on. But I just thought the music was stunning, and the story was really in your face about how, if you don't know, how you treat people, because the way they treated her when they didn't know she was developmentally disabled was entirely different than the way they treated her when they found out, and it was really beautiful. I really recommend it.
Nice.
That has a little bit of that Romeo and Juliet too.
Of course, of course.
My number 2 for me was Bye Bye Birdie. That is just such a fun movie. It's just 100% fun, and it's just goofy, and the music is fun, but my number 1 is Sound of Music. I told some of you this before. When I went to see that when I was a kid at the Nice Theater in town, we got dressed up.
Was that it in Racine?
Yeah, we got dressed up to go to the movie. I mean, like I
Oh,
put on my
okay,
church clothes.
Special occasion.
It was a movie. Yeah, it was starting my church. I had to put on my church clothes for that, and but I loved it then. But I watched it about 2 weeks ago, from start to finish, which is about 20 hours. And it was, because I was at home, I'd get up and do laundry, but I loved it. I was amazed how well it held up too, because I hadn't seen it in like 5 or 10 years, and 5 or 10 years, that's twice as long. Anyway, it's just, to me, it was fabulous and beautiful, and the cinematography is just amazing.
Yeah, I should watch that one now that I'm an adult. I haven't
And
seen that
and
in
it again
20
is
years.
current,
Oh yeah.
with what's going on there.
Yep. Are you any more you wanna
Oh, sure.
mention
I've got one that I loved both in movie and on Broadway, was American in Paris.
Ah, yes,
Oh my
bravo.
gosh. It's
Another one I don't
Bravo.
know. There's a lot of musicals I don't know.
It's such a beautiful. The dancing in that is just
Gene Kelly.
amazing.
is
That
in the
was in the
movie?
movie, but the Broadway version, I saw it on Broadway, and then I saw it again this past year in the city in San Francisco.
Dying to see it.
It is just beautiful, start to finish. Another one that the dancing just blew me away was Contact.
Ah, that's on my list too.
Yeah,
Loved it.
so
Another one I don't know.
Yeah.
it's a dance show in 3
Oh.
parts, and there are 3 different stories. The
Oh, okay.
I
dancing
think we were
is-
together and saw that. You and I in New York. I think we saw it together in
be.
New York. Jim, my Jim loved that too. It is just all dance,
Yeah.
and it is just great.
Are the stories intertwined or are they separate?
Vignettes,
Okay.
little vignettes.
Cool. Right. Before we move on, anyone else have any other ones that you go like, oh yeah, I want to mention this one?
Well, I didn't
big.
say Les Mis, and I
Yeah.
loved it. That was definitely one of the tops. I didn't say Wicked, which I really enjoyed, and I thought it was really fun that we
Me
got
too.
to see it in San Francisco before it went to Broadway.
We saw the
Oh, cool.
we saw the preview with Norbert Leo Butz here
Yeah.
in
Oh, cool.
and
And one of-
Emily knew the shorts. Didn't you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Well, he came to our school, and he was great. I still have his signed album of all his things that I play in my car quite often.
he was the
Very cool.
composer.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Another one that I've always had one of my top picks is Chorus Line.
I have that too.
Just love that one.
Yeah.
Me
So,
too.
Do
The
you remember-
dancing again is just, and the story is great too.
And it has a nice variety of characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ditto for me on everything she just said on
And
that.
Bronx
just like,
Tale, I have to mention that one because I saw it when it was a one-man show in the city with the guy who it's about. Then I saw it in New York last year with a former student. Keith
Oh, that's
White.
awesome.
So,
That's
yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
And met him again after the show, so that was fun.
Any others that people want to?
Ragtime, fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Cabaret, I saw Alan Cumming do Cabaret. I know
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
dark and gritty, but we saw him in New York. Thought he
good.
was
Yeah,
just
Ariel
great.
saw Cabaret. Was it last summer? And
It was last spring. I went to ACTF,
last spring, that's it, yeah.
the College Theater Festival, and
you're-
American River College, I think,
Mm-hmm.
performed it, and it was the first time I'd ever seen it. I didn't know what it was about,
Very cool.
and I just lost my mind.
Yeah.
The staging was amazing. The
Yeah.
actors were amazing, but the story
Yeah,
just
story's great.
guts you.
I remember when we got home. When you got home, you're like, "Have you seen Cabaret? You should
Yeah.
see Cabaret. Do you know what Cabaret is about?"
I couldn't stop talking about it.
I know,
It was
it's
so
really-
good, and they deserved every moment of attention that they got for their performance.
And the last one I don't want to leave out before we run out of time is Once on This Island that Emily, the San Marin produced. I've only seen it at San Marin, but actually that was the very first show that Melissa Anderson directed, and Emily had her direct, and that's when she began. You know, like many of us do with Mrs.
yeah.
Gates. But there was a song in there called Part of the Human Heart. It's just a wonderful folk story on an island with, you know, gods and goddesses, and it's just storytelling and beautiful music. But we actually used that song at Frankie's Memorial in the program, You're Part of the Human Heart. It is a beautiful show.
Great. Cool. Thank you, everyone, for making a list and sharing. That was awesome. There were a lot more that I haven't heard of.
I want to hear you guys talk about musicals more.
Yeah. Real quick, we have to do quick, rapid trivia. So this is and open to everyone. I'm gonna say it. Name of something. You guys have to say what musical it's from. It's a song. Is it what musical is it from, or is it the name of an episode of MASH, the TV show MASH? It's either the name of an episode of MASH or it's a song from a musical. So you can yell at MASH or what musical it's from. All right. Honestly Sincere.
Bio
That's
Birdie.
Bio Birdie.
Yep. The Wells Fargo Wagon.
Music
Music
Man.
Man.
Nice. Sometimes you hear the bullet.
MASH.
Yep. Wishing you were somehow here again.
Phantom.
Nice.
Phantom of the
Nice.
Opera, yeah.
I got one.
The Trail of Henry Blake.
MASH.
Nice. Is that a character's name for MASH? Nice.
Yeah.
Turn Back, Oh Man.
Godspell.
Nice. I Dreamed a Dream.
Yes.
Miz.
Yep.
Les Mis. Yeah.
The Night That Failed.
MASH.
Yep. You guys have gotten all of them. The Rum Tum Tugger. This is
Cats.
Nice. See, Beauty School Dropout.
Grease.
Nice.
Yeah.
That one's easy.
Tomorrow Belongs to Me.
Tomorrow belongs to me. What is
That's
that?
Emily Gates getting all those, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Is that? Oh shoot! I can't see it. Paul was in it.
It's one we've talked about today. Tomorrow Belongs to Me.
I can sing the song, but I can't remember what it's from.
Ariel, do you know?
Nope.
It's Cabaret.
Oh, yes.
Cabaret.
Of
yeah.
course.
Okay,
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
I Feel Pretty.
Oh, yeah,
West Side Story.
Nice. You Never Say Good Luck on Opening Night.
MASH.
MASH.
No, it's Producers.
Ah.
That's right. And then Death Takes a Holiday.
Don't know it.
Don't know it.
It's
Mash.
MASH. Yeah, here we go. Nice. All but one. That was really good. All right, so we have like 3-4 more minutes. Wanted to plug a couple things. First, if you go online to kpca.fm, you can find all the information about our annual The Envelope Please fundraiser for KPCA. It's Oscar night. We watch the Oscars of the Mystic Theater, and then Tom Gaffey from the Phoenix Theater and I will be emceeing it. So during commercials, we'll be talking, and yeah, and there's gonna be raffles and all sorts of stuff, food, drink. So it's 21 and over. So if you want more information, go to kpca.fm or pca.tv.
And the
find
date?
out about it.
The date is?
That is March 4th, I think. It's the night of the Oscars. So yeah, so tickets are on sale. So you can find out about that. And then also, I want to just ask briefly if Kelly Poulos could talk about the Frankie Poulos Foundation, because you have an event coming up, and just what the foundation is about.
We started the foundation in 1993, the year after our youngest son Frankie was killed on Highway 37 in a black ice crash. And it's just a grassroots annual fundraiser, really, where I just get on social media and beg for money for like 6 weeks. And in the last 23 years, we've contributed almost $240,000 to organizations in Novato. Our charter says that the money needs to stay in Novato because that's where he grew up, music and leadership programs and theater programs, etc. But the money comes from all over the world because of social media. So if you'd like to know more about it, just go to my Facebook page, Kelly Poulos, or do frankiepoulos.org and earn your wings. Frankie loved It's a Wonderful Life.
Nice. Yeah, and I know that the review table have all been involved in that for many years. So yeah, want to make sure that people know about that. Thank you
very much.
Thank you. And yeah, I think we're about out of time. So thank you everyone for listening. I'm going to be posting this on YouTube within the next day or two. So if you want to stream it, they can. I think that's all. That we have the Vander Mix is coming up in just a couple minutes. Going to have some music, lots of different kind of shows. KPCA, look kpca.fm to see the schedule. And that is all. We are done today. Thank you very much, all my guests, for joining.
Bravo.
Really appreciate it a lot.
Go
It was
to
a lot
local
of fun.
theater.
Take care, everybody.